7 countries, 7 of the most celebrated places on this entire planet. London, Paris, New York, Amsterdam, Berlin, Sydney, Toronto. I did them all. I checked every box. I ate the food, took the photos, stood in the crowds, and then I landed in a country that wasn't even on my list. And in 72 hours, it destroyed everything I thought I knew about travel. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not clickbaiting you. What Malaysia did to me is something I cannot fully explain in words, but I'm gonna try. Because you deserve to know this place exists. And because once you see what I saw, you will never look at a travel list the same way again. 2, what 7 countries did to me. Look, I need to be honest with you before I tell you what Malaysia did, because the story only hits the way it's supposed to hit if you understand what I was carrying when I landed there. I wasn't a first-time traveler. I wasn't naive. I was 7 countries deep into building what I thought was an unshakable understanding of what makes a great destination. London gave me history so dense and so overwhelming, it almost stopped being real. Westminster, the Tower, the British Museum, extraordinary. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about London. The city charges you a premium just for the privilege of standing in it. Every meal, every tube journey, every time you simply exist in London for 24 hours, your wallet takes a hit that should come with a warning label. The history is magnificent. The warmth, somewhere between polite and non-existent. Paris is the city that convinced the entire world it is the standard by which all other cities should be measured. And then Paris meets you at the door with an expression that suggests you haven't quite earned the right to be there yet. Beautiful? Yes, undeniably, heart-stoppingly beautiful. Warm? I felt more personal connection in a self-checkout machine. New York taught me that energy and exhaustion are the same thing. It just depends on which hour of the 24 you're currently surviving. The city moves like it's always late for something, and eventually you realize it's always late because it can never quite catch up to its own ambitions. Amsterdam, Berlin, Sydney, Toronto. Amsterdam was freedom wrapped in a tourist trap so perfected that the authentic city underneath it had nearly suffocated. Berlin was fascinating, cerebral, and carrying a weight you can feel in the architecture, in the streets, in the silences between conversations. Sydney was genuinely beautiful, genuinely expensive, and genuinely so far from everything else on earth that the isolation eventually becomes a character in your experience. Toronto was diverse, polite, functional, and cold in ways that had nothing to do with the weather. 7 countries, 7 extraordinary places, and after all of them, I was sitting in airport lounges with a feeling I could not name, a feeling that something was missing, that the travel experience I was having was somehow less than the travel experience I had imagined was possible. I didn't know what was missing. I didn't know what would fill it. 3, landing in Kuala Lumpur. The flight I almost didn't book. A seat I kept on the verge of canceling for 2 weeks before departure. Low expectations, open bag, zero agenda. I walked out of KLIA's main terminal, Kuala Lumpur International Airport, and felt Malaysian air for the first time. And I need to tell you something about that moment, because it sounds like the kind of thing travel writers say when they've run out of original things to say. But the warmth felt like the country itself was exhaling and pulling you into its breath, not because it was warm. I'd been to warm places before. Because it was welcoming in a way that weather alone, scientifically, physically, cannot explain. The KLIA Express. Here's a fact that broke my brain after 7 Western countries. Malaysia runs one of the most efficient airport rail connections in Southeast Asia, the KLIA Express, that gets you from the international airport to the center of Kuala Lumpur in 28 minutes. Clean seats, air conditioning, on time. After London's underground chaos at rush hour, after New York's subway that smells like decades of decisions, after Paris's transit system that treats tourists like a mild inconvenience, arriving smoothly and affordably into the center of a major Asian metropolis in under 30 minutes felt almost suspicious. Like I was missing something. Like the difficulty was being hidden somewhere, waiting to ambush me at the worst possible moment. It never ambushed me because the ease wasn't a trick. The ease was just Malaysia, the Twin Towers moment, and then through the train window a skyline appeared. Not the developing world skyline that Western travel narratives had quietly, condescendingly suggested Southeast Asia would look like. A real skyline, dramatic, confident, anchored by two towers so architecturally extraordinary that I pressed my actual face against the train window like a child seeing snow for the first time. The Petronas Twin Towers, in photographs, they are impressive. In person, appearing through a moving train window as you approach the city that built them, they are a statement so powerful it changes your posture. I sat up straighter, I picked up my bag, I was ready. And Malaysia hadn't even started yet. 4, the food. Let me tell you about the moment Malaysia broke me completely, permanently. It was 11 p.m. I was hungry. I found a plastic table on a Kuala Lumpur street at a Mamak stall, a 2-4-hour Indian Muslim food institution that Malaysians treat as casually as a kitchen. I ordered roti canai and a teh tarik. The total cost, less than 3 Malaysian ringgit. In 2025 to 2026 money, that's less than $1. The roti canai arrived. Thin, flaky, buttery layers that tore apart in threads between your fingers. The dal on the side, warm, spiced, exactly right, rich without being heavy. Then the teh tarik. Now, I have to tell you about teh tarik because it's not just tea, it's performance art. The pulti is made by pouring the sweet milky brew from cup to cup, sometimes over a meter high, creating a foam peak on top. Ipoh City alone holds nightly teh tarik competitions where street vendors pull tea 100 times to hit a 1-meter foam peak. But at 11 p.m. on that Kuala Lumpur street, it arrived in a tall glass, performed by a Mamak uncle who had done this exact motion literally 10,000 times with the casual perfection of someone who has turned craft into something close to breathing. The food was not complicated. It was not trying to impress anyone. It was just perfect. And perfect food that costs almost nothing, served at midnight by a man who has zero interest in receiving a Michelin star, is a more profound food experience than anything I ate at a celebrated restaurant in Paris or London. Because it is real in a way that celebrated restaurants are designed to simulate but can never fully achieve. The morning that changed my brain permanently. The next morning, nasi lemak, coconut fragrant rice, crispy anchovies, boiled egg, sambal that hits with heat and depth simultaneously. Street side, 3 ringgit. The morning after, Penang Char Kway Teow, flat rice noodles, cockles, the wok hay, that smoky, fire-kissed breath that comes from a carbon-seasoned wok with a flame hot enough to change the molecular structure of the food as it cooks. I sat on a plastic stool on a Penang street and ate the best plate of food I had eaten in my entire life. 8 countries of meals behind me. 3 ringgit, 3 ringgit. I sat there for a long time after I finished. Not because I was still hungry, because I needed a moment with what had just happened to me. In the facts, Nobody tells you, here's what the travel world doesn't put in the listicles. Malaysia's multicultural food landscape, Malay, Chinese, Indian, Nyonya, produces a variety of flavor combinations that is genuinely unmatched in Southeast Asia. You can eat a different cuisine for every meal for 30 days and not repeat yourself once. 5. The people. 7 Western countries had done something to me I didn't realize until Malaysia reversed it. They had built armor, a traveler's armor, the kind of emotional distance that comes from navigating cities as transactions. You want something, you pay for it, you receive it, you move on. Nobody has time for anything beyond the transaction. Nobody offers more than what was purchased. The cities are too big, the people too busy, the cost of genuine human connection too high in a world where everyone is running from something. Malaysia removed that armor in 48 hours. Not aggressively, gently, consistently, and with a naturalness that made the armor feel not just unnecessary, but slightly embarrassing in retrospect. The man in Pedaling Street. A man in Pedaling Street noticed my phone, specifically the expression of someone who was lost but too proud to admit it. He didn't ask if I needed help. He walked alongside me and said, "Where are you trying to go?" I told him. He said, "Come, I will show you." He walked me 15 minutes out of his way, showed me exactly where I needed to be, refused payment with a laugh that suggested the offer itself was slightly absurd, and then walked back the way he had come. No transaction, no tip, no ulterior motive, just a Malaysian man who saw someone who needed help and helped them, because that is what you do. Penang, Malacca, Kuala Lumpur. In Penang, a shopkeeper spent 40 minutes explaining the history of his heritage building to me, not because I asked, because he could see I was curious and he wanted me to understand. In Malacca, a family at a restaurant invited me to join their table because I was eating alone, and in Malaysia you don't eat alone if someone can help it. In Kuala Lumpur, a university student spent her lunch break walking me to a temple I was looking for because she was going in the same direction, and it seemed obvious to her that she should help. 7 Western countries, not a single moment like any of those. Malaysia produced them every single day. The language advantage. Malaysia ranks 55th globally for English proficiency in the 2025 EF English Proficiency Index, and that proficiency extends into rural areas. Travelers consistently report 80% less communication frustration in Malaysia compared to Vietnam or Indonesia for business conversations, logistics, or simply asking for directions. You are never fully lost in Malaysia. The language bridge is always there. 6. Kuala Lumpur versus the world. I'm going to say something that I understand will be controversial in some circles and completely obvious in others. Kuala Lumpur is a better city to live in and experience daily than most Western capitals I visited. Not in every dimension, not in museum density or the concentration of globally recognized cultural institutions, but in the dimensions that determine how you actually feel about being alive somewhere: affordability, food, warmth, efficiency, safety, and the simple daily pleasure of a city that hasn't yet become so expensive and so optimized for wealth that ordinary life feels like a struggle. KL outperforms London, Paris, Amsterdam, and Toronto without breaking a sweat. The real numbers. In London, I calculated every spending decision. Every coffee, every tube ride, every meal was a small act of financial negotiation. The city demands it. In Kuala Lumpur, I stopped calculating because calculation felt unnecessary in a city where extraordinary food costs almost nothing, the transport is efficient and affordable, the streets are genuinely safe at midnight, and the city offers world-class experiences at prices that feel impossible to believe until you pay them and receive exactly what was promised. I stayed in a hotel in KLCC, the Central Business District, direct view of the Twin Towers, for a price that in London would have purchased a budget room in Zone 4 with a view of a car park. I ate better every single day in Kuala Lumpur than on my best days in Paris. I moved around the city faster and cheaper than in any Western capital I visited. The Teow Digital Nomad Pass. In 2024, Malaysia launched the DE Rantau Digital Nomad Pass, and it was extended into 2026. It's a 3-to-1 2-month visa designed specifically for remote workers earning over $24,000 USD annually. What does it give you? Access to a network of co-working spaces across Penang and the Cameron Highlands with guaranteed speeds above 100 megabits per second, surrounded by either UNESCO-listed heritage art streets or misty highland farms at 15 degrees Celsius. Malaysia's nomad retention rate beats Thailand by 30% according to recent surveys. Why? Because Thailand requires constant visa runs that exhaust long-term visitors. Malaysia made a strategic decision to keep nomads comfortable, legal, and staying. Vietnam has the haze. Indonesia has the infrastructure gaps. Malaysia has the bandwidth, the weather, and the bureaucratic clarity. For remote workers in 2025 and 2026, Malaysia is not a compromise, it's the upgrade. The city's living texture, but beyond the numbers, beyond the costs and the efficiencies, there's something in how Kuala Lumpur actually feels that Western cities have largely traded away in the process of becoming expensive and famous. The Mamak stalls open at midnight. Every kind of Malaysian at the same plastic table. Chinese, Malay, Indian, expat, student, businessman, taxi driver, not in separate neighborhoods. At the same table, the KLCC Park at 7 a.m., Twin Towers reflected in the lake, joggers of every ethnicity sharing the same path. The sensory explosion of brick fields and Pedaling Street and Chow Kit, all within the same city that also contains gleaming malls, rooftop bars, and Michelin-recommended restaurants. Kuala Lumpur is not trying to be London. Kuala Lumpur is trying to be itself, and itself turns out to be extraordinary. 7. The places beyond KL. The 130 million year old rainforest. Let me put this in perspective for you. The Amazon rainforest, roughly 55 million years old. The forests of Central Africa, about 100 million years. Royal Belem State Park in northern Malaysia is 130 million years old. 130 million years. It existed before the dinosaurs went extinct. It watched them leave. It contains Malayan tigers, Asian elephants, sun bears, and one of the last remaining populations of the Sumatran rhinoceros, the most endangered large mammal on the planet. Eco-boat tours run through the park where visitors have reported sighting clouded leopards, an animal most wildlife photographers spend years trying to photograph. The visitor rate is roughly 5% of Taman Negara, the more famous Malaysian national park. You would have this place almost entirely to yourself. Tasik Biru, Ibam, the lake that shouldn't be blue. In central Malaysia, there is a crater lake called Tasik Biru Ibam. The water is an electric, unnatural blue, not from chemicals, not from algae, from the natural granite erosion of the basin that holds it, concentrating minerals that scatter light at frequencies that turn the water a color your brain initially refuses to accept as real. It is sacred to the local community. There is no entry fee, no tourist infrastructure, no crowds. You swim in it, hike to it through jungle, and leave with photographs that people will not believe you didn't edit. Cameron Highlands, the alien forest. At 2,000 meters elevation, the Cameron Highlands contain what locals and botanists call the mossy forest. Trees entirely covered in thick electric green moss, gnarled trunks, pitcher plants at your feet, wild orchids in the branches above your head. temperature stays around 15 degrees Celsius year-round. There are boardwalks that take you through it, and standing inside it with the moss and the mist and the silence, you genuinely feel like you've walked onto the set of a fantasy film, except it's real and it exists. And almost nobody outside Malaysia knows it's there. The road that connects it all. Malaysia has 65,877 kilometers of paved roads, roughly 1.5 times the circumference of the entire Earth. For a country of its geographic size, this road density makes self-drive exploration not just possible, but practical and safe. Unlike Indonesia's pothole infamous highway network, Malaysian roads are consistently maintained and signposted in English. The entire country is drivable. The diversity between regions, coastal fishing villages, mountain tea plantations, ancient rainforests, modern megacity exists within short navigable distances from each other. Malaysia is a country that fits everything into a space you can actually travel in a single 8. The reckoning. Here is the honest answer to the question this entire video has been building toward. What did Malaysia change that 7 Western countries could not? The answer is not the food. Although the food is extraordinary, it is not the affordability. Although the affordability is genuinely life-altering. It is not the safety, the efficiency, the architecture, the ancient rainforests, the electric blue lakes, or the cultural depth, although all of those things are real and remarkable and verified and waiting for you. What Malaysia changed was my understanding of what a country can choose to be. 7 Western countries showed me places that had become their own success stories so completely that the success had crowded out something essential. Cities so expensive that ordinary life required constant financial anxiety. Culture so individualistic that warmth between strangers had become unusual enough to feel remarkable when it occasionally appeared. Society so aware of their own cultural capital that encountering them as a visitor sometimes felt more like visiting a museum than living alongside people. Malaysia showed me something different. A country that chose warmth over efficiency, flavor over restraint, generosity over transaction, community over individualism. A multicultural society, Malay, Chinese, Indian, indigenous, that turned its complexity into its greatest daily pleasure rather than its greatest ongoing argument. A city that fed you extraordinarily for almost nothing and expected nothing more from you than that you showed up hungry and open. A people who helped strangers not because they were paid to or trained to, but simply because it was the natural thing to do when someone needed help. Malaysia did not change my expectations by exceeding them. Malaysia changed my expectations by replacing them entirely with something better, something warmer, something more human. I came for a few days, I stayed for weeks. I left knowing that the framework I had built across 7 countries to evaluate travel, cities, food, people, the entire experience of being somewhere new was not wrong. It was just incomplete, and Malaysia completed it. After 7 Western countries, I arrived in Malaysia expecting less. Impressive for Southeast Asia, impressive given its history, impressive considering where it started. I expected the asterisk. There was no asterisk. There was no qualification. There was just Malaysia. Extraordinary, full, generous, warm, delicious, safe, beautiful, multilingual, multicultural, with a 130 million year old rainforest that watched the dinosaurs leave, with an electric blue lake that no one charges you to swim in, with a mossy alien forest at 2,000 meters that your camera cannot do justice to, with a nomad visa that lets you live and work legally inside all of it for up to a year, with roads that connect every corner of the country in a way that makes exploration feel like a privilege rather than a logistical challenge, with people who walked me 15 minutes out of their way and laughed when I tried to pay them for it, Malaysia was not what I expected after 7 Western countries. Malaysia was more, it was entirely, gloriously, humblingly more